Yeah, that's what I've been thinking. They have heavily damaged this brand. And, yeah. I don't know if there even is a way to come back there. I think what they would have to do is launch a massive campaign to let people know that they're truly back. They've changed what they were doing. Like a massive, like it'd have to be on the news, it'd have to be in the trailers, it'd have to be in every way, shape, and form. Because the whole world knows how garbage what Disney's doing right now. So they would have to do something. And they effed up the Mandalorian with the third season. Those first two were great. That third season, back to their own old shenanigans. Let's check this out.
As a brand, Star Wars isn't just on life support at this point. It's already been declared legally dead, the paperwork's been filed, its friends and relatives have gathered around to mourn it, and it's currently being lowered down 6 feet into the cold, dark embrace of eternal sleep. The only thing that could possibly turn these grim proceedings around is a glorious return to the silver screen in the grandest fashion imaginable. A new movie that would capture the hearts and minds of audiences worldwide. The kind of cultural lightning bolt that made A New Hope into an instant classic. The point is, Disney needed to do something seriously big to win back the cultural momentum and the fan goodwill they've burned up over the past decades. Not just a big budget movie with a massive marketing push designed to grab headlines, but a statement of intent, saying one thing loud and clear: we are back, mother, and we ain't going anywhere. Or they could just shart out a completely uninspired and predictable big screen adaptation of the one and only vaguely marketable character that Disney managed to fall ass backwards into over the past decade, and spent 3 entire seasons milking so hard that its nipples are going to need medical grade anti-chafing cream for the next several months.
I hear people talk about, Grogu should be talking by now and this and that, and he needs to grow up. And I mean, they did talk about the nature of his species, I believe, and the reason why he's still a child. They lived to like 900 years old or something like that. So if they can live upwards of 1,000 years, this very slow progression of him aging would help them keep him as a child like that doesn't really talk. And I think they could make that work, personally. They could also make it work if they have him talk. They just got to choose the voice wisely and, stuff like that. Like, people have a problem with the name Grogu. They keep thinking it's like Goku. I never even made that connection. I don't think that that's what they were thinking. But I think if they keep him a child, it's fine. They just, like I said, that third season, they effed up bad. And I just, if the third season had been a banger, I think people would be on this. And here's the thing. I knew it wasn't going to do well after I did the reaction. And I noticed that my views on it were lower than usual. And I was like, my subscribers don't care about Star Wars anymore. Whenever I do a reaction on certain things, I can tell. It's just normal. This is like YouTuber 101. You know what I mean? You can tell what your fan base is interested in by how many views you get on certain videos. And they're still interested. Like when I did the reaction to the State of Play, the Wolverine trailer, the most popular thing there, everyone there was for Wolverine. So people are still interested to see in what Insomniac can do, even as bad as they effed up with Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 2's gameplay was still great. And people think that they may have learned their lesson from all of the woke garbage they put in it and the way they twisted the story at certain points. That Wolverine could be it. But if they continue to F up over and over and over again, it's just not going to do well. But I could tell, I was like, there's more views than I'm used to for a State of Play. And I was like, it's the Wolverine trailer. I know. And then, of course, you look at the comments. People don't give a damn about this. I was like, oh, this is, I don't know. I think that the views are at kind of an average range for certain types of videos that I do now. But I think in the beginning, I was like, oh, below average views. I was like, wow. But then after that, I saw people putting out videos talking about how like the trailer's being bombarded with certain comments and people don't care anymore. And it didn't get the views that a normal Star Wars movie would get in the first 24 hours and everything like that. Look, they effed up bad, man.
The first theatrical movie about the Mandalorian and Grogu, helpfully titled The Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh my goodness, try to contain that wild creativity, Lucasfilm. You're making the rest of us look bad. Is on the way, and the first trailer dropped a few days ago to thunderous disinterest. Seriously, after 6 years without producing a single movie, this is...
It was really weird too, because look, as YouTubers, we look at the views for every video. And I told you before, there's plenty of videos I will do and I expect to get lower views, below average views. But I wanted to talk about it, so I made the video. You get what I'm saying? But there's certain ones where I'm like, yeah, this one's going to get good views. It's going to get good to above average views. Like, I just know. Every once while you guys fool me, and I'll do a video that I don't really think y'all going to care about, and all of a sudden does really well. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they care about this more than I thought. I just knew that this was going to do well. And then I saw it and I was like, I'm looking at the views, I'm looking at the analytics, and I'm like, what's it? I was like, I forgot people don't give about Star Wars anymore. No wonder. And like I said, I started seeing all the articles and people talking about how nobody cares no more.
You choose as your big comeback?
Not a great plan.
Not only does the trailer itself look boring as showcasing a bunch of uninspired locations and goofy action scenes that look no better than an episode of the TV show, while telling us absolutely nothing.
It doesn't really bother me because the first and second season of the TV show looked great. Yeah, I mean, especially the first season, I was like, this looks like they put all the money in this. This looks like a movie level. This is movie level special effects. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. I remember talking about that too, how great it looked for a TV series. I always hated how with a lot of television series, or at least most, they never look as good as their counterparts in the movies. You don't understand how much that gets under my skin, okay? And it always has. Even if I'm a kid, you would watch, like RoboCop, the movie, then you would see the RoboCop series, and it's like, this doesn't look like the movie. Just giving an example. There's so many out there where it's like, like you could give the CW. So all these different superhero movies out there with great special effects, and some of them are not so great, but you know what I mean. And then you're watching the CW, and you have to drop your expectations to enjoy it because you know that CW isn't going to do it as well as the movies. But they made me so happy as a Star Wars fan by making it look just as good as movies.
About the story and characters. Wow, can't wait for another 2 hours of that green animatronic puppet wandering around doing the same shtick he's been doing since 2019. They really are stuck in a catch-22 situation with this stupid thing. Keeping him as a wordless baby forever would nuke any possibility of progress or development because he literally can't communicate. But on the other hand, the moment he actually starts talking and growing up, he stops being the cute little baby Yoda that sold more merch than every other Disney Star Wars character combined.
And I disagree with that, but at the same time, I agree with him. I think if you do it right, it'll work. You can keep him a baby, and it will absolutely work. One of the main issues with the views on this is that they effed up with season 3, and they've destroyed the rest of the IP. That Ryan Day to play the game bars. People cannot stand Star Wars anymore. And they're absolutely psycho if they think that this new Starfighter movie, making it a Rey movie, if the rumor's true, and they make it a Rey movie too, that's going to work. They're insane. Joker insane if they think that's going to work.
That's why he was supposed to leave the show after season 2, because Jon Favreau had literally run out of things to do with him. From a visual point of view, that trailer is so completely soulless and directionless that it reminds me of those AI-generated trailers still doing the rounds. Like, what if Lord of the Rings was reimagined as a 1980s action flick? Shit,
cool.
man, I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Or Resident Evil was remade as a 1950s Panavision horror movie. It's nothing but concept art with a bit of animation to it, and it's not even especially creative or interesting. The casting isn't exactly blowing my underwear apart either. You know, there was a time when seeing Sigourney Weaver in a major franchise movie was kind of a big deal, like a stamp of approval from a respected actress who can afford to be selective about her roles.
That's the truth.
I mean, if Ellen Ripley decides to show up in your movie, then you're probably in for some kind of good time at least. But after looking at some of the absolute slop she's done in recent years for a quick and easy paycheck, well, maybe not so much. She's become like a female
I liked Avatar, though. Avatar is good. First one's good.
Samuel L. Jackson, who used to be the epitome of cool, the kind of actor that could elevate any movie he was in by his sheer presence.
You know, I never thought that Samuel L. Jackson was a bad actor, but I thought that he got over. He seemed to get popular just by saying, "Mother," too much. You know, he just has a way of talking and speaking that I think gets over more than his acting ability. I think that he's a great actor. I think he's really good, but it's just certain things. When I saw his popularity start to spike, I was like, is it just because he's, you know, being a certain type of, I'm trying to think of the right word for this, but yeah. So, but then I heard something about him where I heard that he doesn't really turn down any roles at all. That's why he's in, you know, Snakes on Planes or whatever. Like he can be in great movies and he's in movies that are not so great because he just doesn't turn down roles. He just loves to act. He keeps acting. He keeps getting paid. He keeps working. You know what I mean? So.
Alone, then lost the ability to say no about 5 years ago and just shows up in basically any production that'll have him now. Man, last year alone he was in like 8 different projects.
Wow.
I don't remember asking you a damn thing.
Yeah, drinker.
Speaking of actors who can't say no to a role, it's nice to see Pedro Pascal back in action for the first time in literally weeks. I mean,
yeah, he plays a very stoic role that I don't think requires, like anyone could be under the mask. You know what I mean? He just plays a very stoic character. It doesn't matter. The point where he takes off the mask and he's interacting with, you know, Grogu, that requires some ability there. You know what I'm saying? But if they wanted to, they could keep the mask on him for the rest of the time and just never have him back. Just have somebody else. You know, he kind of has a raspy kind of voice that he uses. I didn't even know it was him until he took the mask off. I didn't know it was him anyway. So, you know, people had talked about it, but I didn't pay attention to it. And I was just like, oh, I forgot he was in this.
I say he's in the movie, but for all I know, he recorded his lines from a sound
See?
in his pajamas and let
See?
some stunt guy do the actual performance on set.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time either. He's made no secret of the fact that he'd outgrown the Mandalorian after season 2 and had no interest in walking around with a helmet on his head 95% of the time, so unless it gets conveniently destroyed in the first 5 minutes and he's allowed to have that glorious moustache on display, I'm not exactly expecting great things from him with this one. But the bigger problem with all this is that, well, nobody really gives a about the Mandalorian anymore. Yeah, it was kind of a big deal on Disney Plus 5 years ago for maybe 2 seasons, but marginal success on an obscure streaming platform doesn't translate into widespread appeal and billion-dollar box office hauls, 2 things which Star Wars movies really need in order to succeed.
If this movie had come out right after the 2nd season, oh my God, that'd have been money. What made them wait so long?
Succeed these days. It feels more like a movie made through a process of elimination instead of any kind of artistic drive, like a bunch of money men sat down in a boardroom, analysed user trends and merchandise sales, and concluded that The Mandalorian was the property most likely to generate a profit. Just another dry, clinical business decision from a company that stopped being about artistic merit like 15 years ago. And that's even assuming everyone who saw it still has a favourable opinion of The Mandalorian, which, let's be honest, hasn't been true for a long long time now. Season 3 was a tedious, laughable disaster that proved that Grogu had well and truly outstayed his welcome, that visited upon us the horrors of Jack Black.
I don't think he'll ever outstay his welcome for me, but, you know.
Black and Lizzo trying to act. And
As soon as I saw her, I was like, really? 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 Really?
Mando to the periphery of his own show in favour of his more diverse and politically acceptable replacement, Bo-Katan. Yet another generic Star Wars girl boss so famously lacking in anything even resembling a personality.
And as soon as it started going that way, as soon as I saw hints of it, I was like, oh my God, here we go. I can't believe they're doing this to this series.
That she literally triggered an existential crisis in the actress playing her and destroyed her confidence in her own acting ability for years afterwards. Damn man, imagine knowing you'd written a character so thoroughly that it made the actress want to give up acting. What I say with all this pish is that even though The Mandalorian was probably the best of the utter sludge being pumped onto the Star Wars section on Disney Plus, with one obvious exception, even at its peak, it never really crossed into me.
I still ain't seen that second season. I saw the first one and I enjoyed it, but it's not Star Wars. It's an offshoot. It's something else. But yeah, people like it. You know, to me, it feels like it's the Loki of Star Wars. You know, Loki felt different than every other thing that they did. You know, so did WandaVision, really, but you know what I mean. But
mainstream awareness, the average person on the street had no idea who Din Djarin, Bo-Katan or Grogu were, and let's be real, its peak was a long time ago at this point. Now it's seen as kind of an unfunny joke with no punchline, and the disaster of Season 3 has probably caused a lot of people to reassess their feelings on the previous two.
Am I the only one that wants to call him Jin? I always want to call him Jin and not Din. You know what I mean? It always throws me off.
Look past the cutesy puppets, the shameless nostalgia bait and the half-decent action scenes, and you begin to realise that it was still shallow, mindless slop. It was just packaged slightly better. So is there any way for Star Wars to come back to life at this point? Well, I'm no expert, but one thing I can tell you is that if it's been more than half a decade since your last movie, and that movie was Rise of Skywalker, then you really need to come back with the mother of all bangs if you expect to win people over again. And not just one bang either, preferably several in a row to prove it wasn't a fluke, and that there's still plenty of life left in the franchise. Somehow I don't think The Mandalorian is going to accomplish any of those things. But hey, it's probably going to be amusing watching them try.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I really hope it's good. I really do hope it's good. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm so sick and tired of drudging through this. It's like the swamps of sadness or whatever in the never-ending story. It's like, it just makes me sadder and sadder to deal with this stuff, you know. I do with it what I can, you know. But it's, you know, and we have a few different jewels every year, but it's like, I really miss the times when we were all happy and anxious and stoked and ready for the next Star Wars tentpole or the Marvel tentpole movie. You know, I can't believe they filled everything, even gaming, with all of this garbage that nobody wants. It's so ridiculous that we have to continue to deal with this. And then you say, if you don't like it, don't watch it. But then when we don't watch it or we don't buy it, then you get mad at us and call us every istaphobe in the book. But you told us not to watch it. You told us not to support it if we didn't want to. And you weren't making it good anyway. You're losing money. Nobody's like buying it. Like, so I would almost get it and be like, okay, give you respect. If you actually were really making super blockbuster movies and television shows and series and video games out of this type of propaganda, but you're not, you know, and I'd be like, all right, well, guess it's not for me no more. I just have to find something else. Problem is, the majority of the world just don't want it. And the pockets are hurting now with these big businesses. Talk to Bud Light. Talk to Target. Talk to Disney. There's a lot of other ones out there too. 10 million subscribers. Woo!